we're about to jump into some of the most important questions that are being asked all around the world. It doesn't matter who you married or where you got married. You're probably wondering, did I marry the wrong person? Did I screw it up? Because let me just tell you, marriage is hard. Marriage is hard if you're married to a pastor. Marriage is hard if you're married to a genius level psychiatrist or psychologist.
Marriage is hard if you're married to anyone.
Marriage is hard if you're married to
Doesn't
anybody.
matter.
So don't think that you're getting out. Don't think that somehow or another you're the exception. Sometimes people believe the lie that they're the exception. You know, like, oh, everybody else has a good marriage. Now, I want to tell everybody's secret first, and then we're going to answer some of the questions about, did I marry the wrong person?
Yeah.
But here's the secrets that we can tell live on air right now. We do marriage, well, we used to do marriage counseling. Now we have a lot of pastors on our team that we've raised up, and they do the
They're
counseling.
amazing.
And I want to tell you, almost every person's first year of marriage is the worst experience of their life.
Most people. So
Now, there
if
are
you had
people-
a good first year, great.
Yeah. Like, hey,
Good
if
for
you're
you.
like, that wasn't, we were in love, but most people, and they lie about it, okay? So you got to understand, they
Yeah.
lie about it.
Especially on like Instagram.
Yes. The other thing you need to know about marriage
You know.
is that everybody argues.
Yeah.
Now, when they stop arguing, so like, let's just say you're like, oh man, you know, it is possible. Like right now, I would say our arguing is down to a minimum
Yeah. Oh, for sure.
because
I mean, we still argue, but it's minimal.
It's funny,
usually
we
about
laugh about it.
Driving.
yeah, like it's minimal, but that's after counseling other people's marriage for like a decade.
I'm
And we
gonna be
finally figured
yeah.
out how not to
I'm
argue.
going to be a passenger seat driver for the rest of my life. So we've just made peace with it. That's
And
our
we're gonna,
thing.
yeah, we're gonna give you guys some wisdom about how to do that. But I need you to know, number one, every couple argues, every couple fights, every couple gets on each other's nerves.
Yep.
Number two, almost everyone's first year of marriage is a horrible experience.
Yeah.
Number three, there is nobody that's exempt from struggling in marriage because seasons actually change. And so guess what? Being a good husband to her when we were in our early 20s is completely different than being a good husband to her now.
Yeah. Because your spouse changes.
Your spouse changes.
Like when you're like, you're not who I married. It's like, well, you married me at 18 and now I'm 48. Like I am not the same human, you know?
Don't we look good for 48?
Yeah. We got married at 21 and now we're 38. So we are not the same people.
We changed
Yeah.
and our marriage had to change as we changed.
Our responsibilities
So
change.
2 decades
Yep.
later, you're married for like almost 20 years.
Yep.
And you're like, we are not the same people. So we need a different marriage for a different person
Yeah. In different seasons.
in different seasons. So I want to tackle the question right now that many people ask us all the time. And I'm gonna let Julie answer first
Oh,
because I don't think we agree on this.
okay.
So we're about to fight right in front of you. The question I want to start with, and I want to see this in the comments as well, because I'd love to know what you guys think.
Yeah.
Does a soulmate exist?
Okay.
Let's try to give a biblical answer because Julie and I don't have our own opinion. Our opinion's scripture, but
Okay. You
Let's
me to
go there,
answer?
yeah.
Okay. I know for a fact we don't completely agree on this. And so, which is, you might be surprised. You think like his answer would be my answer, vice versa. I don't think that there's one perfect person for everyone. As much as I want to think that I'm perfect, you know, for you, handmade by God, I think that does a couple things. One is spouses die, and then somebody finds love again later in their life. I've seen that. Another thing is that if one person married the wrong person, then that would mean, and they married someone else, then everybody is like off by 1 degree, right? It's
In-
kind of
in the
like,
earth.
yes. So I have a hard time digesting that now, because you're probably referencing Old Testament when God told so-and-so to find this woman, right? You're probably thinking of those biblical stories. Me too. I do think there are times in history, because of the genealogy of Jesus and how intentional that God is, that he did orchestrate some marriage. So do I believe that God never picks somebody for someone? No. I mean, yes, I do believe that God intentionally for certain reasons will pick someone. But I had 3 people in my life tell me that God told them that they were going to marry me.
No, they were doing
I
that.
only married one.
They were yeah, I got her. Now, I never said that God told me.
No, you never.
That's hokey. That's weird.
And kind of manipulative.
Hey, girl, God told me. I never, listen, that's weird.
So I'm just being honest. That's how
Yeah,
my
so
interpretation.
we agree and disagree. So let me give my answer. Her answer was amazing, by the way. And I'd love to see what you think in the comments, but I believe there's good, better, best. I do believe that God does have a best for us. Why? Because he hand selected Eve, made Eve out of Adam. So the origin of relationship was God being super intentional. It was not random. But I also think that God can take a decision that we made and he can actually upgrade it because he honors covenant, he honors commitment, and he honors consistency. Covenant, commitment, consistency. And so maybe you did make a good choice, but it wasn't the best for your life.
Right.
I believe God can turn it into the best because God will turn all things around. So here's the thing. I hear this story all the time. You guys are amening me in the comments. I just want to tell you, thank you. I love you.
They're like, I'm not going to Julie's church anymore. It's fine.
Well, no, I mean, she does. It's like a yes and a no.
We kind of meet in the middle. So.
Okay, let me put it like this. The longer I stay committed, covenanted, and consistent with Julie, the more I feel that she's my soulmate. Yeah. And Lord knows that she'll die first, and then I'll probably be single.
Yeah. Well, here's my thing.
Well, my point was going to say, all joking aside, is that I can't see it any other way. I can't, knowing our ministry, knowing our children, our family, our life, it feels like soulmate.
Yeah. And I believe that some people do make decisions out of desperation. Some people make decisions out of sin. I've seen people who God has put them together and they chose to divorce and then they make decisions and do other things. And my question would be, can God redeem, and I think that he can redeem, our marriage when we were going through our stuff. How honest can we get? How real you want it?
Get honest, because I'm trying to stir up a little controversy and everybody in the comments is fighting right now because they're like, I got Julie's back.
Over it.
I'm team Mike. I'm team Julie.
Yeah.
But no, let's go there.
Okay,
let's get vulnerable.
So in the, what we went through, we laugh about it. And the reason why we laugh about it, so nobody gets offended if you're walking through some of the things that we walk through right now. We laugh about it because we are not those same people. Mm-hmm. It's funny to think who we were throwing plates. It's funny to think that we would, try to hurt one another like really bad on purpose. It's hard to think that, I'd be like phone stalking and like doing all that stuff. Like it's funny to think about those things.
Yep.
At this point. So that's why we laugh. It's not that it's actually funny. But there were times when we were going through that stuff where I would think like, how is this God's will for my life? When you're betrayed, when you're lied to, when you're done wrong, like why would God, was that God's purpose for my life? And I just don't believe, I think those are decisions that people make in their flesh. They make in their sin, they make in for trauma responses and all these like words we want to throw at it. Bottom line, sin, right? And so then I have to decide like, but can God redeem? So you may have thought, even though we kind of disagree a little bit, I believe that you can become someone's soulmate. So like we had to become
I was going to make that point.
Soulmate.
She's stealing my notes.
So, I mean, what I really wanted to do was divorce his butt and move on. Okay. If
Which
we're being
she had
real.
every right.
And I had every right.
Every right biblically 10 years ago to do that.
And I'm not saying everyone, especially if you're in a dangerous situation or, there's complex reasons, and don't email me about it. Okay. Like I understand. I get it. In my situation, what I wanted to do was turn the page and move on. But there was something in me that I felt like, man, God, but I see our future. I see what you're trying to do. And isn't it like marriage is the metaphor for Jesus? Like Jesus is married to his church. And so we marry imperfect people. And even though I didn't feel like what was done to me was God's will, I felt like, can he turn it around though?
Yeah.
Can he redeem? Can I become the soulmate of his dreams? And can you choose to want to be that? And so I think we kind of agree and disagree. But the point is that you may have married Mr. Wrong, right? Or you might have married Mrs. Wrong, but can they become the right person?
That's it.
And so I believe in redemption wholeheartedly, like all in. I'm
That's
always
it.
going to try.
And this is where we agree. This is where we agree. Well, first of all, I love the wisdom of our subscribers because the comments are blowing my mind. Somebody said you can start off being imperfect for each other, but become perfect for each other.
Yeah.
Can I get an amen?
Oh, yeah.
I had no idea how to be Julie Owen's husband. That's her maiden name. She had no idea how to be Mike Signorelli's wife. And we had to learn that. And this is why I say I love the books on marriage. We love 5 love languages and all these other books we've taught out of them. At the end of the day, your life is the book and the manual to marriage.
Yeah.
And instead of trying to change the other person, you change how you serve them. And that's what we learned.
And changing in every season. Like you might hit a health problem or a mental health issue or a financial season, and you got to change the way that they want to be served or they want to receive love. So for example, acts of service was never, not even like, I don't even know it was a love language radar for you.
No, but it's define acts of service because you're referencing the book. So some people feel more love
by people doing things for
when
them.
Someone like does something for them.
We're in a season of our life where it really means a lot if I hang up his clothes.
Yeah.
That could have meant like nothing in another season. But right now, that's very helpful for you.
Yeah.
So when I want to become the right person, the soulmate, because what the enemy will do is he'll take something small like that and be like, another girl pick up your clothes, or another guy would take you out to eat once a week, or they'd hire the cleaning person, or they wouldn't make you work a job or whatever. The enemy's a liar. He'll use anything. The thing that we fought about the most of in our marriage at the beginning was dishes. Now, we always say it's never about the dishes, right?
Right.
But the enemy would use something so tiny like that, and then he would begin to manipulate it and cause these like crazy divisions on it. So, and then would tell me that he's not the one for me. I should have married that other guy from church camp or something silly, like you think like that other guy wouldn't have done me like that. But so the enemy will use anything to try to add division. So yeah, in another now in this season, I have to be sensitive to like, what does his soul need? What does he consider a soulmate right now in this era of your life, and vice versa? Like my needs are different now that my kids can take themselves to the bathroom,
Yeah. So
make
you know
a
what?
sandwich.
Like marriage is 2 servants trying to outserve each other. If you're taking notes, you could write that down in your notes. Marriage is 2 servants trying to outserve each other. When it becomes any less than what I just told you, that's when it comes out of balance. So when Julie was a new mother, she needed me to serve her as a new mother, which meant, bring her Starbucks or whatever, like back in the day.
Yeah.
It was basically me giving her what she needed in that season. Now her season has changed. Now it's me giving her money to get her nails done. And
I'm in desperate need. Okay, it's fine.
Yeah, or scheduling her hair appointment, and it's like, go ahead, girl, schedule that hair appointment. And that's what she needs, And so I'm trying to outserve her. She's trying to outserve me. But I do want to talk, and I want to go deeper because you guys are a part of this family online because you love depth and you love that we go there. Julie got sick, and it was about 3 years ago. And that sickness caused her to be bedridden. Now,
pretty much.
Yeah. And now rewind, before that, she was running mini triathlons. Matter of fact, she was one of those people that worked out so much it would like make me sick. I'd be like, girl, I don't ever want to run unless like a bear's chasing me or something.
Like the weekend before I got ill, I ran 17 miles.
She ran 17 miles the weekend before she got sick. Yeah. So, that's what I was used to. I was used to that wife, the one that was like running, working out, doing stuff around the house, whatever. And we go to Ukraine to do ministry, which pray for Ukraine, by the way, with everything that's happening there now. and she gets 2 viruses, comes back bedridden. And so now I'm in a season, and this is going to help somebody because I know you guys, because we spend so much time together every week online. I was in a season where my wife could do nothing for me. So if my definition of marriage is 2 servants in love trying to outserve each other, and now all she's doing is she's bedridden, she can't serve me, what do I do? And I say that because many of you, you're married to a guy who's not godly, and he's not doing anything for you. He's not helping you. Many of you are married to a woman that you feel like stop meeting your physical needs and there's no more romance, whatever. And so I want to help you understand that there are going to be seasons where that definition of 2 servants trying to outserve each other becomes, I am going to honor the commitment and the covenant and be consistent, even if it doesn't benefit me at all, because that's what marriage is. And there was like a 3-year journey, and I'm being really vulnerable. This is the first time I ever shared this anywhere, where I felt so lonely. I didn't have a companion. I love this. I love traveling. I love getting on the subway here in New York City and going to destinations and stuff. And I remember deciding I have to die to self. I can't cheat, because this is where a lot of men would have cheated. And I can't cheat. I can't, because, and we said this in the last video, but it's like I had to become mature now in my love for Julie. And I had to say, okay, what if she never gets out of the bed? What if she could never go on trips with me again? What if it's just not there? Because she was constantly in pain. So it was like pain, pain, pain. And for me, if you know anything about me, I can't stand when people are sick. I'm a faith-filled person. I'm busy. I love being busy. I'm driven. And so when we went through that season, I'm being very vulnerable. I think a lot of guys would have said, I'm not getting my needs met, so I'm going to meet my needs somewhere else. And I had to become mature. I felt that temptation. I felt that those thoughts came into my head. And I remember coming home day after day and looking at Julie in the bed, looking at her, big bags, like double and triple bags under her eyes, green, her skin. It was like she was very sick. And I remember being like, and it's funny because at first you feel sorry for them, but then you start feeling sorry for yourself. And that's what happens. You love your spouse. And some of you, I'm speaking right to it. I see all the comments with the crying emoji, because I feel like if you're, that caregiver trauma where you're like, man, I am sick and tired of carrying my husband. I'm sick and tired of, I'm sick and tired of carrying my wife. I'm sick. And so some of you may be in that season right now. So let me hear from your perspective, because from my perspective, it was this: marriage is a covenant. Marriage is something that God honors because it's his picture of Jesus in the church. So I'm going to stay covenanted, even though I'm tired. I had to mature in my love. But what was it like for you?
Yeah, I think we met in different seasons. So like you felt that in you felt that in one season, but I felt that in another. Like when you were struggling with anger, addiction, just all of your stuff. Like I felt that way about him. It came to a point where I'm like, I'm not enabling this. Like it's on you. Like I don't care what happens to you. And I had to learn like how to let go. And for me now, I know that we all come from different backgrounds, walks of life, relationship status. I want to tell you that if you have divorced in one season and remarried in another, and God is blessing you and you're having a godly marriage and you're working on things, like I want you to know that's not what I'm talking about. I'm just talking about, for me, my situation. Yeah. This is what I did was I went to God's word and I was like, what are the biblical grounds for divorce, And so I went to those, and there's 2. It's adultery, if your spouse has been unfaithful, and the other one is if you've been abandoned by an unbeliever. Those are the 2 grounds. And I looked at...
So you can slow down a little bit. Okay. So if you've been abandoned by an unbeliever.
Yeah.
Okay, explain that.
Okay. Oh man, don't ask me.
Because most of the people, most of the people watching, I feel they struggle with, my spouse is not a believer.
Yeah. Well, like if they've left you or they've, went on to pursue another life or whatever. And honestly,
so they're not participating in the marriage at all. They They're not a
They
believer.
left.
They abandon you.
How I
There's-
read it is that they left. So,
Yeah.
I mean, do your own research, read the Bible. That's
Yeah.
the most important thing. And so so I looked at that and I looked at God's heart and I was like, man, this is supposed to be like a last resort. Like there's still so much biblical, like stories like Hosea, all these things where God redeems, you know? And so I'm like, God, could you do that in my life at that time?
Yeah.
And I found a book called Power of a Praying Wife by Stormy O'Martian. Oh, words are hard. It's Monday. So check that out. Power of a Praying Wife. They also have Power of a Praying Husband, if you're a man on here and you're looking in that. And I started to believe that my situation can be redeemed. My situation. And I wanted to see, like, if I can do all that I can do, then what can God do in my situation? And I started to fight my battle in prayer. And so, sure enough, when I started praying prayers that were biblical for my marriage, I started to see God intervene and change our entire situation. It didn't happen overnight. It did not happen in one prayer. It didn't even happen over 1 year. It was years of watching God move and pray and taking 2 steps forward, 10 steps backwards. 1 huge step forward and then 20 steps backwards. I mean, it was up and down. We had real crazy issues. And some people in my situation, they did that and, their spouse, they didn't choose restoration. And we did. And there came a point where, I was working on it and then God changed your heart and then you wanted to work on it. And so then we started to move forward.
And, I want to add to this. Marriage is like a bank account where you make deposits and withdrawals. So the problem becomes people only want to make a withdrawal. Mm-hmm. And the same reason why you're broke financially is why you're broke relationally. Because it's like, I want love, I want hugs, I want kisses, I want sex, I want them to pray for me, I want them to prophesy for me, I want vacations, I want a house. And you're just taking. But marriage is like a bank account that you have to continually deposit in. And so a lot of us, it's the same way. We go and, cheating on your spouse, it's like getting a credit card. It's spending money you don't have. And see, what happens is people are just taking. And so for me, my finances and my marriage was all the same. My finances were wrecked. My relationship was wrecked with Julie. Then I was getting my needs met by other women, which literally, if I would have died, I was going to go to hell. Like I was going to go to hell. And what I learned is that we need to make some deposits. And I will say this, we went to marriage counseling once a week for like 1.5 years straight. And that was like me making deposits over and over again. That was Julie making deposits. And now we're at a place where it's the law of compounding interest. And I don't want to go too deep and lose you guys, but over 90% of millionaires are first generation millionaires financially, which means that they didn't inherit the money. They started with little and they became ruler over much, which is a biblical principle. They started with a little bit of money and they kept saving and multiplying it, and it became a lot. So Julie and I now, all these years in, 10 years later, 13 years later, after the story we told you, our bank account has grown so much that we're now in a surplus and we barely argue and, things are much better, but we've learned along the way. So it's like what happens is everybody wants your bank account, but they don't want the discipline of saving. Everybody wants your marriage, but they don't want the discipline of maturity of love that says, I'm going to serve even when it doesn't serve me. And I'm just I'm trying to help you guys understand, like Julie, like I'll put it like this. Here's the question. Every time Julie prayed, she was depositing into our marriage bank account. So here's the question. How many prayers did it take till breakthrough? Every single time, every time. So it's like for some of you guys, please, do not give up too soon. Do not give up too soon, because I believe that your husband can be a man of God. I was not this I'll put it like this. I was not a fire-breathing preacher. I was a fire-breathing dragon. And I was dangerous and I was bad and I was sinful. So you guys met me, preaching the streets of New York City and doing mass deliverances, I wasn't always that dude. But
Yeah.
Julie prophesied me into that person.
Yeah. I mean, I guess if you could take one message from this today, if you're asking the question, did I marry the wrong person? And you're still married. And it's safe. I'm not encouraging you to stay in situations that, are not safe. We went through a period where we were separated for almost a year, 9 months. It was a long time. And because we did need to be in a situation where we were safe from each other for a season. But in that time, we were still I, at least at that time, was still working on, my heart was like, Lord, I know that you can reconcile this. And it's so funny because when I got to that place where I was like, okay, that's it. Like, I don't know that he's ever going to work on this, so I have to make a decision. I literally had a card for a divorce lawyer because at this point, I'm like, he doesn't want to work on it. And it was that day that he sent me a text message that said, hey, I'm ready to work on this. And we started marriage counseling the next week. So it may not be on your timetable, but if you have a vision for reconciliation, and I did, because I knew that was God's heart. And I know that you want to argue, everyone thinks that their situation is different. Mine was bad, guys. It was not good. And it wasn't good overnight. And it was like 3 years of us trying to like get it together, and we definitely had steps backwards. I probably had more rights to leave later than I did even initially, but God did turn it around. And so I want to encourage you, like, a lot of times you hear those stories, well, I got divorced and my life got better. But I want to encourage you, like, what if you stay together and that life gets better? I'm just throwing it out there. I know that's not the case for everybody, but I have to believe that if Jesus uses marriage for the metaphor for him and his church, then how important is marriage to God? It's got to be important.
Yeah.
And so I don't want to dilute that by if I can do my thing to me was I want to be able to tell my kids I've done everything that I could. I've done everything that I could. That's what I wanted to say to my kids. And again, I'm sharing my story. So I don't want to be attacked for what this is my testimony. And this is what God brought me through. And I'm praying that that's, your testimony too. Maybe borrow my testimony as a prophecy over your life, maybe. But God turned my marriage around. And I just want to share something. I wrote a note in my phone. I shared this with some of our pastors the other day in 2019. And it was just writing down the things I was believing God for in 2020. So it was before 2020. And one of the things I wrote down was I believed that every marriage in V1 Church could be restored. And you know what? We have seen a lot of restoration. And I don't know if every single one will get restored, but I'm going to pray it. And your marriage might be beyond what you think is restoration. But last night, I was in church and this couple came to church and they have just walked through something really hard. And they were sharing that with me. And they're working on restoration. And let me tell you, their story, it looked hopeless. It really
Impossible.
did. It really did. But God is doing such a work. And I told them, I said, keep going. It's going to be hard, but keep going. So if you're discouraged, I hope that brings encouragement to you, not judgment.
We have such great faith for the couples of our church. And here's the thing I want to encourage you with. It's impossible to read the Bible and see Saul, the Christian killer, turned into Paul, the apostle, and still think that God cannot do that with your husband.
Yeah.
It's impossible to see God use the harlot, the prostitute in the lineage of Jesus and think that your wife can't be used by God in a great way and change. You can't read the Bible and then say, but my situation's the exemption to the rule.
Yeah.
Matter of fact, your situation proves the faithfulness of God. Your situation proves how good God is. That's what we're living out in front of you right now. Now, listen, I know that Julie just spent the last hour, bashing me. She told you about how bad I was.
I hope not.
But all joking aside, really there was a lot of things in this is how sneaky it can be.
Yeah.
My stuff was toxic, anger, throwing plates.
Toxic masculinity.
My problem was all that. But see, Julie's problem was not understanding what it was like being married to somebody who went through trauma in their past.
Yeah.
And our marriage counselor was so good because he looked at Julie and said, yeah, Mike's wrong. Mike's drinking, cussing, throwing stuff, breaking stuff. But you'll never know the pain that he's encountered having multiple abusive stepdads. And he actually used this phrase. He's actually passed on. He was a legendary pastor in our region, and he's passed on. What a legacy. Mm-hmm. But he said, imagine a train just drove through Mike's chest and left a gaping hole where his heart was supposed to be. That's what it's like to be fatherless over and over and over again for a male. And when he said that, I started to break down. And it was the first time I felt seen and I felt understood. Because behind all that rage and anger was a broken little boy that nobody had ever dealt with. And so what happened was Julie was saying things. She was triggering me. Now, it doesn't mean that what I did was right. It just made it understandable. And so some of the things, women, and I want you to hear me say this, some of the things you're doing and saying are triggering your husband. And it doesn't justify how he reacts to it, but it's going to help you understand that if you keep doing what you're doing and saying what you're saying, you're going to keep getting what you're getting.
And some of y'all would get kicked out of a Walmart if you said to the cashier what you said to your spouse.
Yeah,
and
because
so
your
we
husband
look at it
is
differently.
Your husband is wired for respect, and you respect your pastor more than your husband. You respect the guy that's, like you said, the guy who's scanning your groceries more than your husband, and your husband's watching and saying, wow, and you're talking good about celebrities. You're talking good about everybody but them.
Or your pastor or your boss or whatever. And it creates a jealousy and it fuels more anger. And, it's like somebody, we talked about this last week. Someone's got to step up and say, I'm going to do the right thing first. And so, maybe you were the one that was betrayed. Maybe you were the one that was cheated on, cussed out, told this, that, the other, lied to, whatever. It's like, listen, if you want it to work, you got to ditch the scorecard. You got to throw it away because
you got to rip up the list.
Yeah. And if you want restoration, and again, if you have biblical right and you chose to leave, okay, fine. But if you choose to stay, you have to really never bring up the past. You got to deal with it. If you are, you better deal with it in therapy where you have a mediator. And just know that if you're for your marriage, let me tell you, God is for your marriage.
That's it.
Your children are for your marriage.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Now, we've got a little bit more that we're going to share with you in this broadcast. I know that this has helped you so much, and I also know it's hard. And some of you don't have Christian counselors or even pastors to talk to, which is why we keep showing up over and over and over again to minister to you multiple times a week live, including Sunday services and all that. So here's what I want to do. We're going to actually do a rapid fire Q&A right now. And I am so excited to deal with your questions in real time. And listen, stick around. Don't click off this teaching because someone else's question is probably your question too. So I want you to drop a comment right now with your question. One of our favorite things to do is reply to as many comments as possible. And our team is here and we're here for you. So I wanna basically do this. Okay, the first question we got, this is a great question. Yeah. I'm gonna tackle this quickly. So start putting your questions in the chat now, light it up. First question is, does God honor common law marriage? I wanna say this. God honors covenant. When we do a ceremony, it's more than just words. It's words that produce covenant. What is covenant? Covenant is deeper than a contract. Covenant is actually a lifelong commitment. And so I would encourage you, if you're living together, you need to go do the ceremony. And why do I say that? Because living together is not the same as being married. And today, in today's day and age, and I'll tell you this, here's a challenge. If you're living with somebody and you're acting like you're married and you think that's the same as marriage, go to them and say, hey, why don't we go to the justice of the peace and do the ceremony? And you'll find out the reservations and the escape hatches and the plan Bs that they have deep down in their heart. Because if they were all in, they would go all in. So do not. And here's the last thing I'll say, because we pastor in New York City and Long Island where it's incredibly expensive, stop making money the issue. That's stupid. Yeah. It's like you moved in together, you still don't have a budget, you're still not managing your money the right way, and then you'll say, well, I didn't get married because I'm worried about money. That's a lie. Go to the justice of the peace. You go to your pastor, get a quick ceremony, and then when you do figure out your finances, do a bigger one for your vow renewal. Quit playing games with covenant because God honors covenant.
God honors
so
it.
Let's go. Let's keep going. I love this question. I'm gonna let Julie tackle this one.
Which one is it?
What if the person that you're married to is a Christian narcissist? And y'all know that there's Christian narcissists everywhere. I mean, we let's not name names, but we know some pastors right now that need to sit down instead of, okay, I won't go there. But what you're married to a Christian narcissist, what do you do?
Yeah. Well, I mean, I feel like I was married to one at some point. Definitely tendencies for sure. And I think I think a lot of people throw that word around, oh, they're narcissists. Like, okay, are you oversimplifying it or are they really?
Right.
I would say if you're going to use that word and you're serious, like, have they went to counseling? Have they been given that title or tendency, And so I would say stop throwing that word around, number one. The real, definition, there are people who have narcissistic tendencies and there's people who are narcissists. And so I just want to give that differentiation, I guess, if that's a word.
Is it clinical, psychologically confirmed, or did you just read a blog?
Is it wounds? Is it trauma? Is it, is this something you pulled up on TikTok? What is it? So I want to give some depth to that word because I feel like especially Christians throw that word around and it's very damaging if it isn't true. So I'll hand that out. Or does he struggle with pride? And I would say all men and women struggle with pride. Everybody. And so, Saul was a narcissist and David as a husband probably did some things that, could be interpreted that way. So, if you read about how many wives and things, come on, don't tell me that wasn't messy. There's no way. So, I will just say that if you feel like you are married to one, a man who calls himself a Christian, you have to trust that you calling him that in an argument is not going to set him free. You have to fight the spirit with an opposite spirit. So if you want to, if it's, again, as long as it's safe, if you feel like you can hang in there, can you fight that narcissistic spirit with a spirit of humility, humbleness, grace, peace? Usually narcissists deal with a lot of, they actually feel the opposite of how they act. Insecure, weak, fearful. Struggling. Yes. So I would say ask the Lord, ask the Holy Spirit to start speaking to them on those issues. Because here's the thing, ladies, you telling your spouse in an argument what they need to do, they will never do those things. You have to talk about it in counseling with a mediator if you're able to do that, or, get in a marriage connect group. Those are absolutely free. Please join them and really get with people who are for your marriage to help you kind of navigate some of those things.
Yeah, so Julie mentioned a connect group. You guys probably don't know how to join one. You go to the V1 Church mobile app. You can sign up for a marriage group. It's a small group and you can meet other couples to help get free. Now I want to do emphasis on lightning round. So we're going to do these questions faster now because there's so many coming in.
Fight it in prayer. There you go.
Yeah. Fight a spirit with an opposite spirit. If you tell your husband you're prideful, he's going to act more prideful. If you tell your husband, you know what I've always loved about you? You're so gentle. You're so kind. I know right now you're a little out of character, but I know the real you is gentle and kind. And maybe you're going through something. See how I just said the same thing two different ways, but it's going to get two different reactions. Yeah. Now, I want to answer a question fast. Now, this person said, this question's for Julie. Cheyenne says, what if he doesn't seem physically attracted to me anymore? Now, I want to answer that question first because you have a man here to answer that question. And Cheyenne, I'm assuming you're married to a man. So I want to speak from a man's perspective first, even though you asked for Julie, because it's going to help you understand. Okay, let me just do this as quick as possible. Number one, men are not only attracted to physical appearance, although they are primarily visual. And I remember there's this wisdom key I learned is the most powerful sex organ you have is not between your legs, it's between your ears, it's your brain. Because a man is actually able to even have an orgasm in a dream in their sleep, which means that their brain is that powerful. So if you're not mentally and emotionally connecting with your man, that will affect the physical, okay? Number two, if your man is addicted to pornography, he may be experiencing pornography-induced erectile dysfunction, meaning that they have another release rather, that is affecting their relationship with you, and you've got to know that. And then number three, and I'm going to say this brutal because Julie can't say this, because men are physically attracted and they're visual, you may have to serve your husband in a way that you look like when you looked when he was attracted to you. And I know people say, I know, but I have this issue and blah, blah, blah. I know I'm going to get hate issues. But listen, guys, I just lost almost 30 pounds right in front of you in the last 6 to 8 weeks. I want you to go back and look at my videos, because the truth is I had to be like, you know what? As I get older, I've got to change my diet, whatever. Now, Julie, same thing. And this is why I want to hand it to you. When Julie was so depressed, so anxiety ridden, when I was being toxic over 10 years ago, she had her first kid, which is Bella, and she gained over 100 pounds. And I was not attracted to her in that season because I was like, man, this is nothing like.
It was really probably more my attitude than the way I looked. But
it was kind of like both. It was like she was super mad at me, saying the wrong things. But then she physically was like, she had gained over 100 pounds. And I was like, wow. And we were like in our early 20s. So how did you deal with that season?
Well, I guess my question is, has he said that to you, or is it something you're internalizing? Because sometimes, some men, they like what they like, like what might be attractive to you may not be attractive to you.
And I want to qualify because I'm going to get hate mail. I did say, and I know she's poking me under to tell me to stop and let her talk, but I have to throw this out there because I was so intentional with how I worded it. Go back and look how you looked when he was attracted to you. That's what I said.
Yeah, or ask.
Like, think about that. So however you looked when things were right, maybe you've gotten so far from that person that's created an issue.
And I'll be honest.
So I'm not hating on any body shapes.
Sometimes after you have kids, though, it's just harder. I get it. I have 2 kids. I understand. And yeah, so I don't want to make it something it isn't. But for your spouse, it might be insecurity. Like, it might be your insecurity. So having a conversation like, hey, this is how I feel. Is this true? Like, open up the communication. And then if you ask the question, you have to brace yourself for the answer. And then in that case, we have to look at, like, I was ready for Mike to make some changes with his body. So, I mean, I have no shame in saying that. And that's, when you asked me, I answered it honestly. And then I've heard Pastor Shannon Odell preach on this. His wife came to him with concerns, and he changed the way that our body is not our own. When you marry, you're one. And so if there's things like, hey, honey, I wish you'd get more tattoos. Well, that's something that you got to talk about as a couple. Or, hey, I wish you'd wear this. Or, hey, I don't like it when you look like this, or whatever. That we have to be open enough to have those conversations. And I know the, TikTok community or whatever is going to be like toxic Christianity. Hey, listen, call it whatever you want. But when you marry, you're one.
Yeah. Your body's not your own.
And you guys got to talk about it and get on the same page. So for us, we needed to make changes. For you might have to open up, for some people, they want you to gain weight. For some people, they want you to not be so uptight. So it's different for everybody.
It really is. Okay, guys, we've answered so many questions. And there's so many more in the chat right now, which, that's why we did round 2. Go back and watch the first video. We'll link to that first video in the description of this video so you can go back. But here's what I want to do as we come to a close. I want to do this. I want to give you an opportunity to stay connected. Make sure you hit the subscribe button right now. Ring that little bell notification so you never miss another live stream, another video. Join this family because you can't do it alone. Marriage is not just two people coming together. It's you coming together with a tribe of people who are like, we're going to cheer you on to the next levels. So hit the subscribe button now, hit the follow button, ring that bell notification, and let me know in the comments after you did that. Say, I'm a new subscriber, and let's go from there. The other thing is we are going to be doing more of this, so look out for more videos. That's why I said subscribe so you don't miss it. Now, I posted the link. I'm going to post it right now. We are doing a free marriage conference. It is going to be like what you experience now on steroids. So what I want you to do is in the comments and in the description of this video, I want you to hit the link for the free marriage conference. Now, this is crazy. I have been putting this link out there. Over 1,000 couples, actually it's over 1,200 couples have already signed up. Now I want to hit 2,500 couples. It's going to be happening Friday, February 18th in the evening, and replay will be available to all those who officially signed up, which means if you don't sign up, you're not going to get access to the replay. It's never going to be on YouTube or Facebook, okay? Now, the last thing I want to do is this. If you've been blessed by this video today, you're blessed by this ministry, we want to ask you to financially sow. And the reason why we're asking you to sow
so I can get a new
is,
chair. No, I'm just kidding.
yeah, so Julie can get a new chair. So they're pinned comments and in the description. You can give via PushPay, Cash App, Venmo, now Zelle. We have that available. Julie and I figured out how to do a national and international tour this year to come do mass deliverances, healing services, revival services all around the world. But the vision is bigger than our bank account because I believe that God will always call you to do something greater than what your current means are. So all the locations that we locked in, and we sat down and locked them in, all the locations we locked in, we physically can't afford to do it. But we believe that you guys are going to sow and you are going to, you are going to sow. So here's what I want to do. I want you guys to check it out. If you are streaming this broadcast to your television, you can use your phone for that QR code that's right here, and you can become a monthly partner. Matter of fact, if that's something else, for $297 a year, that's like one time $297. You can get 12 months of access to mentorship. Yeah. You can get monthly mentorship by me, by my team within the Breakthrough community. We have our monthly partners meeting tomorrow night, which means if you sign up today, like right now, and that's by going to breakthroughteaching.com. You can see it on this panel. You can be in that tomorrow, but it's $297 for the whole year or $27 a month to become a monthly partner for the Breakthrough community. Or you could just give a one-time gift, but I'm going to ask something special. If you guys give via Cash App, Venmo, or Zelle, or PushPay, I want you to include your prayer request in with your seed. So that means Cash App will let you put what it's for. Venmo will let you put what it's for. So I want you to put in that line your prayer request because our team literally prays for the prayer request, okay? So I want you guys to sow right now in faith. And if you can't sow, don't feel bad. You can share for free. Sharing is free. Hitting the thumbs up, hitting the like button, sharing, that's for free. But if you are financially able to give $3, $3,000, $300, whatever the Holy Spirit's telling you to do it right now because you're going to be blessed to be a blessing and you're going to help Julie and I come around the world this year. It's the most crazy, ambitious thing we've ever done, which is going around the world. So do not dine and dash. If you are feasting on the word we gave, the scriptures we shared, the Bible that we taught you, our life situations, do not dine and dash. Please sow right now. Become a monthly partner or give via Venmo, Cash App, Zelle, or PushPay right now. And do it now. Don't even waste any time.